Hello and welcome back to live coverage of the Apex Gaming $5,000 Modern Open. I'm Tandy, joined by Ross Merriam. Say hi, Ross.
Hi, Ross.
We have one round down and a bunch more to bring you. Ross, why don't you give us a rundown of what we're going to be watching in round number 2?
So we've got Jacob Fumich, one of the better-known players on our tour here, playing what is ostensibly Rakdos Evoke, but the newest sort of version of it that people have been trying out recently, and that is with a light green splash, so a Jund
Oh,
Evoke.
so for like endurance and
No,
like abrupt decays?
no,
No?
no.
What are
We're
we doing?
playing Questing Druid, 4 copies in the main deck for Fumich. This is the only green card. There are a couple engineered explosives in the sideboard, so green mana can help there,
Yep.
but really just splashing for the Questing Druid.
Yeah.
And it's been a very powerful card in both this shell and in Is It Murktide? Splashing, turning that into Temur Murktide, just as additional card advantage and a pretty powerful threat.
Right. So the front half of Questing Druid, I think Seek the Beast. For a red and one, you get to flip off the
Seek
top
the
two
Beast.
cards of your deck, and until the end of turn, until your next end step, you may play them. What you do oftentimes is you play it on your opponent's end step or on your opponent's turn at some point, and that gives you essentially a full turn cycle of your own turn to play both those cards, and you still have the body of the Questing Druid initially to play, and that can grow by playing those Free Furies and the Undying Malice and all these other cheap one-cost cards.
Yeah, and notably, you can evoke Fury and Grief from the Exile
Right.
Zone. The card you pitch to evoke them has to come from your hand,
Right.
but they can be evoked from a different zone. It's just an alternate cast. So, even if you hit, 2 of those, you can get full value by casting them for alternate cards. You don't need a ton of mana to get the full value off of Seek the Beast.
All right, and Fumich's opponent this round is going to be one May French on Temur Rhinos. May is a student of Mason Clark who won back-to-back Pioneer events at our store the last 2 times we had Pioneer events. Was unable to make it this week. He had a lot of traveling to do, but we're happy to see some of his students come out and hopefully dominate. And May is going to be playing at Temur Rhinos. Anything special about May's list of Temur
Uh,
Rhinos?
I do see a couple copies of Flame of Anor. There's some main deck Mystical Disputes that's been popular
Mm.
recently. There's a main deck Questing Beast, and 3 copies of Subtlety.
Okay.
That one's picked up recently. It's very
Similar
good
to
against the
the
Evoke
similar
deck.
to the Kai Bood list from the Pro Tour a few
Yeah.
months ago.
So, but nothing, a crazy out of the box. Just classic, good quality team of Rhinos. I also like these 2 copies of Murktide Regent.
Ooh, yeah.
Get
All right.
go big.
Well, the players are just about ready in the feature match area, so let's head on down for round number 2 of the Apex Gaming $5,000 Modern Open. We got Fumich on your left playing Jund Evoke, and we got May French on your right playing Temur Rhinos, and we're going to be underway here. And it looks like Lucky May, starts off with a Gemstone Caverns.
Just how lucky is that? Only 1 copy.
Pretty lucky.
As lucky as possible.
The reason why we say lucky, it's not because May is actually lucky, but because it does say luck counter on it. You are fortunate enough to have Gemstone Caverns in your opener, so you may play it during the beginning of the game, and then if you pitch a card, you can use it for any color mana. It becomes like a City of Brass that doesn't deal any damage.
And of course, the original submission for that card was called Unlucky Man's Paradise.
Really?
Yeah.
I
It was
didn't know
it
that.
was an invitational card submission that they made into a card anyway, even though the guy didn't win.
That's cool. All right, so gonna go to May's turn number 1. Was able to cycle that Lorien revealed during Fumich's end step, and no play from Fumich on 1. And now we're gonna go back May's way, and I think we're gonna go ahead and fetch. Curious when we're doing, I guess, upkeep. Maybe we're gonna ice land.
Yeah.
Ice land on turn number 1. Wow, May really doing it here, putting Fumich in a stranglehold quick. See if Fumich has something like a grief here. No play. Maybe should have taken a mulligan or two. We'll see if May can capitalize on the no plays from Fumich, but also if Fumich may just being patient, waiting for some of those Rhinos to come down before we start doing double Furies and such.
Yeah, the Rhinos deck is so redundant that, maybe you want to play more of a card advantage game, wait on those evoke creatures if you don't have the full combo.
All right, we're going to peel cards off the top till we hit Crashing Footfalls. This is the namesake card of the Temur Rhinos deck. Our whole game plan is to play cards with a mana value greater than 2 that have sort of cheats in there built in so that we can play 1 and 2 cost interaction so that all of our cascade effects hit Crashing Footfalls, and we're able to use these 4/4s as a pivot point for all of our interaction.
Yeah, and this is how you draw it up if you're playing Temur Rhinos. On the draw, steal the play with Gemstone Caverns. Turn 2, ice your land. Turn 3, make 10 power.
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever lost a game with Temur Rhinos where I Gemstone Caverns on 0 and iced on 1.
Are you saying that's a Splinter Twin situation?
Perhaps, perhaps. Here's a Fury evoked from Fumage. We're gonna pitch Lightning Bolt. We're gonna kill one of the Rhinos. See if May has subtlety lined up here. This could be absolute perfection if May does have the subtlety on the Fury. Force negation, not a valid target here because it says non-creature, and no, we're going to go Rhino down, and we'll see if Fumich has one of these cards, and he does. May going to go for a force negation on it, though. Did have
Okay.
the subtlety, wow.
Oh, and getting punished has a second copy, so the force negation not good enough, but the subtlety would have been.
Yeah. Now, Undying Evil brings the Fury back, and just Shardless Agent for May. Does have Dead Gone in hand, so we can bounce the Fury and attack for 2, but Fumich being able to take care of those Rhinos puts May on the back foot, and you have to imagine playing that subtlety on the Fury would have been a little safer, and things might have gone a little bit better
Yeah.
for her.
But if you're May, you're also thinking, if I subtlety this, then Fumage can probably just do it again next turn.
Right.
And likely didn't have enough blue cards to keep the force of negation for the next turn, so, went for the play that would at least leave a Rhino around permanently and get rid of the Fury, but got max punished by a redundant copy of those Undying effects out of Fumage's deck.
Okay. Gotta say, May's hair game on point. I like the pink color quite a bit. We'll see if she can cobble together anything here on Fumage's turn to prevent this Fury from bashing her for 4. I see a Violent Outburst. That's a
Okay.
pretty good one.
Yeah, so we can rebuild the battlefield with a couple more Rhinos, but then we got to worry about winning the race against a 4/4 double striker.
Fumage draws Grief for turn. I see a Questing Druid over there as well. We're going to start with that. Free the beast.
Seek the
Seek
beast.
the beast.
We,
Finds a land.
we didn't find the beast, that's for sure.
No, but we do get to play the land, and that allows us to play Dauthi Voidwalker here, which could be quite strong. And you're going to see May, I think, cascade in response because you never want Dauthi Voidwalker to be able to cast Crashing Footfalls for free. Essentially,
Definitely
just
not.
counters your Crashing Footfalls.
Yep. So, heads up play there for French. We'll dig for another Crashing Footfalls. Ooh, that was an Odyssey basic land, Odyssey Forest.
May's got good taste.
Strong basic
That's all I'm
land
gonna
game.
say. And old school Fire Ices, it looks like.
Ice Age lands from Fumich, so strong basic land game from both sides here.
All right, digging over the top few cards, looking for Crashing Footfalls. We know that there's a bunch still in the deck. Here's 2 Rhinos coming in. Voidwalker going to resolve, and we're going to head back May's way in just a second. And we'll see if Fumich wants to attack with the Fury or not. My guess is no. And that's going to allow May actually to maybe Dead Gone, bounce the Fury, and then attack for 10. And if Fumich doesn't have a land next turn, it might actually just be cold.
And needs a land or a red card. Does have the Druid as a blocker next turn.
Well,
but
even a Pitch Fury next turn is not that big of a deal, right? It's only going to kill 1 Rhino.
But if Fumich attacks and puts May down to 9, then the Voidwalker is a legitimate threat.
Okay.
Plays
attack.
defensively.
May picks up Beseiju.
So Beseiju, Dead Gone, and a Crashing Footfalls is the hand. So yeah, I like just bounce Fury, suspend Crashing Footfalls, attack for 10.
Yeah, that does mean the Voidwalker can cast Dead or Gone, I believe.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And
So
that
you
can
could
kill a token.
play if you have a land 5, we can play Questing Druid, use Voidwalker to play the. I guess we don't even need the land, but
Okay, May gonna just suspend the Crashing Footfalls. Looks like we're not gonna go for the Dead Gone.
may also just want to deal with the Dauthi Voidwalker itself with Dead.
Makes sense. Terminates the pickup for Fumich. Gonna start by casting Questing Druid. Gonna get that online so it starts growing. We also have access to a Grief, but Fumich quickly taking that out of his play.
So what May really needs here is a way to deal with the Fury itself. And looking at the list, I just see 2 copies of Flame of Anor that are going to be clean answers to it. Everything else is a bounce, Petty Theft, or the Gone half of Dead Gone. We could find a Fire Ice or another Dead Gone and double up with the Dead Gone in hand to deal 4 damage as well. But May doesn't have double red, so that is not an out either.
May thinking about a double block with the Rhinos. Technically, 2 Rhinos does trade, but instead we're just going to bounce it. I would have really liked that to happen last turn with an aggressive attack to try to turn the corner. Because now Fumich just has more. I don't know. You're just
Yeah.
plus 10 life. That's a lot of extra life to have right now.
You're not gaining as much out of the tempo from the bounce spell as you could.
Right. And now Terminate going to take care of one of the Rhinos, and only 6 power in play for May. And the Questing Druid goes up.
So now, even if humans really wanted to, could trade the Druid for the Shardless Agent. But at 19 life, doesn't really need to. Can wait for that Druid to outgrow it. You know, any land lets you recast the Fury. That's great. Any spells grow the Druid. That's great.
Looks like May's pickup for the turn was just a land. And now, do we attack? The answer is yes. Fumich's going to go down to 13. Now we're going to go back Fumich's way and see if he can find the land for the Fury or a red card plus the
I
Undying.
think you found Not Dead after all.
Yeah, I think he can do that with Grief, but there's no cards in hand for May. And he can't do it with Fury because he doesn't have a red card.
But even without the Fury, we can use the Dothy Voidwalker to cast Gone, bounce the other Rhino. That puts a counter on the Questing Druid.
Okay, looks like we're just going to get aggressive here. Put a counter on the Questing Druid and attack for 6. May down to 7. Fuma should be minus 6 life down to 13. Our spotter missed that, so it should be 13 to...
Yeah, but he can easily take another attack down to 7. There's no threatening card that May can draw. Maybe a Murktide Regent at this point would be pretty good.
Yeah. I think this game really hinged on the Fury turn. I think if May had hit it with Subtlety instead of using Force Negation on one of the pitch effects, I think that
Yeah,
her chances of winning would have been much higher. I don't know if it would have ended up being a win overall. You know, Fumich's draw was pretty decent, all things considered.
but I can see the reason why she made the play. She just got punished by what happened to be in Fumich's hand. There's a lot of other hands that would have been more punishing for her to play the Subtlety instead of the Force of Negation there.
Go on.
If Fumich just has the 5th land and can recast the Fury, and you could have dealt with it. Basically, any situation where he doesn't have the 2nd copy of an Undying effect. Because if you deal with the Undying effect, then the Fury goes away. And that's been the biggest problem. The Fury was what stymied, all of May's aggression, and the Undying effects, gave multiple triggers to deal with some of these Rhinos. We would have had a couple extra Rhinos on the battlefield and been able to attack more effectively.
All right, May with a pretty big pickup here in Violent Outbursts. I think we get to attack with both of our creatures now, and that's going to put Fumich down to 7. It's really going to put him down to 5 if May wants to main phase play the Violent Outburst for the tokens. That is going to put a Crashing Footfalls underneath the Dothy Voidwalker, but it's going to allow for a lot of extra damage and some defense on the following attack.
Yeah, and even a single removal spell on one of the Rhinos leaves you with 1 Rhino to block Questing Druid, which presumably at that point would be a 4/4, so that's a trade, and then you take 6, and then you have a lethal crackback. So you're not afraid of a singleton removal spell. I like getting aggressive. But this is once again showing the real punish in this game was, I think, May not getting aggressive with the Dead Gone in the first place.
Right.
If she had played that main phase, bouncing the Fury, got in a 10-point attack, this race would be a lot better for her.
All right. Attacking for 6. Not going to deploy the Violent Outburst here. Gonna, I guess, wait for the Dothy Voidwalkers and everything else to attack. Try to ambush the Questing Druid. It's kind of a forced play. I feel like the extra 2 damage is going to matter, or could matter.
There's a Fury there, so in case you want to block with, multiple...
That's
you
fair.
can't really block with multiple Rhinos, though, because you need 2 to block the Grief. You can't block the Voidwalker, so...
All right, I'm going to start cascading. Looking for the 4th Crashing Footfalls. We have, I believe, cast 2 and 1 is in suspended.
Yeah, this is the 3rd one of the game. That questing beast would be a good draw.
The actual mechanics of Cascade in paper are horrific.
Just going through the entire deck.
As one does, one at a time. And if you accidentally go too far, warning, 3 warnings, game loss. Sorry. So everyone does it super slow. All right, here's 2 Rhinos. We got some blockers coming. Does Fumich have a removal spell before blocks?
Yeah, we can't double block the grief and keep both Rhinos around because that leaves you dead to any sort of just an undying effect that wouldn't actually do anything other than put a counter on the questing druid. So I think it's just got to be a double block on the questing druid.
All right, this is actually a pretty interesting spot. I think May actually might have won this game. The Dothy Voidwalker being tapped means that Crashing Footfalls cannot be played, and a single block here on either a block here on Grief or Questing Druid leaves May with 10 power coming back, and if I'm not mistaken, Fumich just has 2 Undying cards in hand and a Fury, and no defenses. And so I think May actually just stole this game. Fumich obviously had a couple of weak or bad draws, but overall, I thought Fumich was definitely in the driver's seat, and I think he's just suddenly dead.
Yeah. And that's a reason for not getting aggressive with the Violent Outburst is you wait till Fumich attacks with the Voidwalker, make sure that he's not able to cast your own Crashing Footfall. So heads up play from May there on this last Cascader.
Okay, so we can play like 1 or 2 of these Undying cards here just to pump the Questing Druid.
So we can play one of them and then trade and have the Questing Druid come back.
Right, but it comes back tapped, right? I guess it depends on which one it is. Let's get Not Dead After All. That's the one he played. So Not Dead After All, I believe, brings it back tapped. Battlefield tapped under Solar Control with the Wicked Roll.
So that's not going to be any help.
No, and I think Fumich sees the bad news and no blockers and no viable plays in hand, just Undying Evil and a Fury. And May is going to take game number 1.
Yeah, this is a crazy game. I think both players could have played, very differently in a lot of different spots. It was but both decided to get aggressive, and Fumich is going to be left 1 damage short.
Yeah, I mean he's able to get May down to 1 there with the 6-point attack, but heads up play from May with the surprise ambush of the Rhinos, and I'm a big man. I can admit when I'm wrong. Nice play there from May at the end.
Yeah, and I think, but Fumich is now got left to go into sideboard thinking like, what went wrong? Where should I play differently? And it's tough because when you're in a winning position like that, the instinct, and I think it's a good instinct, is to try to get the game over with, try to be aggressive. But you never want to be so aggressive that you leave your opponent outs like that. And Violent Outburst is one of the better draws there in the deck. It should be something that is on Fumich's mind.
All right, as these players are shuffling up here for game number 2, I'm going to have my main man, Ross Merriam, give his expert analysis of how he thinks these players are going to sideboard. Ross, what you got for me?
Okay, so starting on Fumich's side, I see 2 copies of Shieldred the Apocalypse, 1 Bone Crusher Giant, 1 Hidetsugu Consumes All, 1 Magus of the Moon, 1 Kolaghan's Command, 1 Terminate, 1 Fatal Push, 1 Pithing Needle, 2 Engineered Explosives, 2 Leyline of the Void, and 2 Blood Moon. So the cards that immediately jump out to me are the Hidetsugu Consumes All and the Engineered Explosives. Those are the clean answers to a battlefield full of Rhinos, and having 3 of them is really valuable. I'm generally not a big fan of bringing in a lot of spot removal to deal with Rhinos. Yeah. That's a pretty inefficient way to answer them, but maybe you want Terminate if you're worried about things like Murktide Region. Right. And then I would also take a look at Shieldred. Shieldred is great at playing defense against Rhinos with that 5th point of toughness. The life total swings from its triggers are quite relevant, and there aren't a ton of answers in the Team of Rhinos deck for it. There are the copies of Flame of Anor, and there's bounce spells, but not a ton of ways to take a Shieldred off the battlefield, so I'd be pretty interested in those as well.
All right, on the other side of things, we got May French's Temur Rhino. She is up a game. How do you think she's going to be sideboarding here on the draw?
I see 2 copies of Fury, 2 Obsidian Charmaw, 1 Subtlety, 3 Endurance, 1 Magus of the Moon, 3 Force of Vigor, 1 Flame of Anor, 1 Blood Moon, and 1 Boseiju Who Endures. I like the 3rd copy of Flame of Anor. Now, even if you're not anticipating Shieldred, just answering big Furies is important. That was a problem in that first game, and it's a nice top deck if you ever have a Wizard. It's a great source of card advantage.
Not too many wizards in the deck, but Mutavault is a wizard.
Yes. And even just casting as a draw two when you don't need the removal spells
Right.
is fine in this matchup. I also like the Subtlety. That's a 4th copy because there's 3 in the main to stop those early combos from the Evoke deck. And I like the 2 copies of Fury. That's a great way to catch up if your opponent has already put a Fury or a big Grief onto the battlefield. You lose a little bit of card advantage, but they lost card advantage to do it themselves. So if you're going to lose a little card advantage to catch back up onto the battlefield, that's fine. You'll regain that card advantage with your Cascaders and with Flame of Anor.
All right, as these players are shuffling up here for game number 2, I want to take a moment and shout out our sponsors for the event. G Fuel Energy Formula keeps us nice and energized on these super long days of Magic the Gathering and other card games we do here on the Apex channel. I might have me one in just a minute here. I'm starting to come down a little bit from my hot chocolate this morning.
And we got a lot of rounds left.
Yeah.
Got to keep that energy up.
Big shout out to Ultimate Guard. They're the leader in TCG supplies. Make sure to ask your local game store for the Boulder deck box, the Archive deck box, as well as Katana sleeves. And if they don't have them, well, say, hey, why? I want them. I'll buy them. Also, thank you to Wings Etc. for giving us a fun place to hang out after these long tournament days where we can have some good food and good friends and some good drink. And, yeah, both these players here looks like they're about ready to start game number 2. So let's head on down to the match.
So now May going to be on the draw again. Once again, I was just about to talk about it.
Well, too late. Too late.
Has the Gemstone Caverns.
Yep. All right, let's see if she has the nice Splinter Twin combo here.
I see Fire Ice.
Ice here land on. Oh, it's a Bloodstained Mire, so it's not quite as good. Unless Fumich wants to end of turn crack like a donkey.
Wow. Harsh, but fair.
I mean, look. Come on, Fumich. You know what's about to happen to you.
Yeah.
Come on, buddy.
It happened in game 1. It
Look,
just happened to you.
He thought about it, right? He stopped himself, and he's like, you know what? It's okay to get iced. I'm just playing. Here comes a fetch. I'm going to tap it and draw. Fumich said that's okay. We knew that was coming.
I don't mind that you just played a Cantripping Time Walk.
All right.
Oh.
Well, you know what we get to do is we get to do a lot of other cool stuff.
Ooh, we had the Shardless Agent, but now we've got nothing.
All right, and the Wicked roll coming here is going to mean that if the Grief gets killed, an extra damage will go to May. No spells left in hand for May, just 3 lands.
Yeah, had that same really fast start, but is a little bit flooded outside of it, so this double Grief is backbreaking. That's a quick fetch.
I was going to say the
May.
quickest fetch in history, and May likely
we found
gonna
a
be
Shardless
playing
Agent.
Shardless Agent here, yeah. All right, great start for May. Also has 2 basics to play around Blood Moon, so no pressure points really for May other than top of the deck, and finds the Shardless Agent. Here's 10 power, and Fumich suddenly on the back foot after an explosive turn number 2.
Yeah, that was the best possible draw. Still no more spells back, so if Fumich has something like Engineered Explosives or Hidetsugu Consumes All,
Yeah.
he pulls ahead again. I see a Fury and a Fable. I think it's Fury Fable land
Okay.
is Fumich's hand, so he can start rebuilding as well.
All right. 10 power on turn number 2 for May.
Seek the Beast.
Seek the Beast. All right, Fumich here going to look at the top 2, finds Land, Thoughtseize. There is no spell in May's hand, and he knows that, so Thoughtseize unlikely to be played.
Yeah, no reason for him to want it in the graveyard either, no like delve cards or things like that, so I don't think that's a question of whether to play it.
All right.
Interesting that he went for the Seek the Beast over Fable, because Fable is going to let him dig a little bit deeper next turn as well, uses his mana a little bit better, and the treasure from the Goblin Shaman could be quite valuable. You could even double block the Goblin Shaman and the 4/3 Grief on one of these Rhinos.
Right, but with Fury in hand, he's looking for Undying Evil or something similar, right? That would have been
Yeah.
a huge pickup.
He's just looking for
Allows
another...
double Fury.
Okay, yeah, so going for it all there was Fumich and did not hit.
No, okay. Also, an attack for 8 from May, and the Grief doesn't block. Grief here can actually just trade for one of these Rhinos.
Yeah, I'm never a big fan of the no attack, no block. If your
Well-
creature's not attacking or blocking, what is it doing? That's what creatures do.
Sometimes they... Okay, that Questing Druid needs to be set off to the side if you're gonna accidentally untap it.
That one's in the Exile Adventure Zone.
Look, you put them in the Exile Zone, you put them in the Adventure Zone, you put them in the Bone Zone. Okay. No place you put the Dryad is gonna make sense because there's too many zones.
Yeah.
Too many zones, Ross.
Maybe it goes in the Frozone.
Look, all I know is I play Magic Online almost every day, and some games of Pioneer I get like 4 different Exile zones. Okay.
For like $1.50, Pizza Hut will put it into your P zone.
Oh yeah. If you don't know what a P zone is, that's like a cow zone, but made by Pizza Hut. So
that's the second chuckle I've gotten out of Director Karen. It's 2-0.
All right, here's Fable the Mirror Breaker. That's going to come down, and that's going to make a 2/2. And now you have to imagine Grief is almost a forced block. We find Lorien revealed, so May can actually just draw 3 cards here. Here comes an attack for 8. Fumich looking to trade with the Grief this turn, likely.
Yeah.
Thinking about chump blocking 2 damage off of the Fable. Interesting.
Well, we can double block, and you still only lose one of the creatures, but you don't take the point of trample.
Right.
So it saves you a point. You give May the option of dealing with the Goblin Shaman instead, but I think May would want to deal with the Grief. So instead, Fumich does take the extra point. We'll see if that comes up mattering. You know, with the various 2 damage spells, you know, the Fire Ices and stuff in this deck, and fetches, a single point could make a difference. It is sort of like a disaster if May bounces the Grief, I guess, or has like Flame of Anor. But I think if May had a way to answer the Grief, she would deal with it first and then attack anyway.
Yeah, that seems right. All right, we're going to draw 3 cards.
I guess not, because the Rhinos have trample.
All right, we're going to draw 3. Lorien revealed. This is the alternate casting cost of Lorien revealed. 5 mana to draw 3 cards.
Yeah, my 4-color tap land is also just a concentrate.
Oh, yeah. It's a little expensive, but games like this happen quite a bit with Temur Rhinos, where you sort of run out of juice in the later turns, but you've established a pretty good board position, and it also just cycling just means it's a perfect part of the deck.
And May was flooded 3 turns ago, but now no longer flooded.
Right. Okay, Chapter 2 of Fable the Mirror Breaker. We're going to discard just some Marsh Flats, find Rogavan. You can attack for 2 with the Goblin, make a treasure, and hard cast a Fury. Seems like that's going to be the play.
I think the hand is Fury, Rogavan.
Yep. We'll see if May actually has Subtlety or something here to punish. We're going to take the 2, and now Fumich. Going to hard cast Fury here.
I see Flame of Anor in French's hand. It looks like 2 copies of Crashing Footfalls.
I hate to see that.
Ooh, that was a tough Lorien revealed.
Look, you put the cards in your deck, you're going to draw them. You know? I have suspended quite a few Crashing Footfalls in my day. All right, going to go back May's way. He finds Fire Ice. Very close to getting the job done here. We're going to go, I guess we have it. We're going to go Flame of Anor. Kill your Fury. We're going to attack for 2.
Is this lethal? Do we have...
we might have life totals wrong.
Yeah, I
guess
missed
we
the
do have
fetch.
life totals wrong. Okay, so Fumich defeated there. May French takes it down 2-0.
And the one point from not double blocking with Grief and the Goblin Shaman did come into play. Fumich stabilized there with the Fury, but a Fire Ass on the top was exactly enough alongside Flame of Anor. Got a scrap for every point.